Hi everybody, welcome back to Geezer Rider. If you find this informative, please like the segment, like this episode. If you care to, you can leave some comments. We'll try and get back to you. And if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and you'll get a notification every time we post a new video. So today is the cornerstone of the heated gear review. So we've done an overview of the different types of heated gears. We did an overview of jackets and why I personally determined that I wanted to go with a jacket instead of a liner, and gave you a lot to think about. This is the Gerbing LT heated hybrid jacket. It's a mouthful. It is a hybrid in that you could run it off a lithium battery, but it also is a hybrid because it has integrated armor in it, and we'll get to that in a minute. General construction is typical, like nylon, water repellent fabric. There is a slick sheet on thinsulate lining here. If you go to Gerbing's website, you'll get more information about that. Comes with some pretty basic, almost too basic documentation about how to connect the jacket. We'll get into that. This is the actual part number for the jacket. Hopefully you can make that out. And you'll notice on their documentation, they show a little like molded plastic thing that's supposed to have all the connections. That doesn't exist in the jacket. The wires are just loose inside. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but just know if you're looking for that in this jacket, you're not going to find it. I found this jacket online for what I consider a steal. It was sold through Amazon, I think by the Warming Store. It was $149. So if you're looking for a jacket with these features, you're probably going to find them priced higher elsewhere, or maybe even from other manufacturers. So that's a good price. If you can get that price, and that was free shipping with the Amazon, I would suggest you go for it. It comes with the documentation that we were just talking about. Of course, it has Gerbing's patented microwire technology, which basically means it's like a heated blanket with the real small elements. You don't feel it inside the jacket. Another big package of fuses of varying load capacity so that you don't exceed the capacity of your bike. We talked about, tallying up the load for your bike's battery and charging system. And as always, they give you a charging cable. So construction, again, we have, the typical fabric, and then areas that are reinforced are the typical impact zones. Again, a little pessimistic to think about it, but plan for the worst, hope for the best. All the armor is the typical like closed cell foam, a little stiffer than soft foam underneath of here, and each of them have a zippered area where you could remove that armor if you wanted to, or to clean inside of it. So here's a piece here. It's kind of a hybrid cross between rubber and foam. There's one in the back that's more foam-like. I realize I'm a bit out of frame here, so we're gonna have to work with each other today. The construction is similar to most heated jackets with the exception of the armor. So we have armor in the shoulder area, we have armor in the elbow area, and we have armor in the back. This is a 2XL jacket. It may fit a little loose on me. I've lost quite a bit of weight recently, but my thought is this isn't overly heavy, so when I get where I'm going and I take it off, it's only going to keep me just so warm, so I might want some room to put additional layers on underneath. Once I get where I'm going, I probably won't wear too many additional layers underneath the jacket while I'm riding, so that the heating elements are closer to my body. We've talked about that. The closer the heating elements are to your body, the less power you have to run into the jacket to get the equivalent heat. So let's talk about the connections. This is where the other videos that I had watched were way underserved. They just kind of glossed over it. It was like, oh yeah, it's in the instruction manuals. I don't think they were that straightforward. If you have more experience with heated gear than I do, you might be more comfortable with it. So inside the left side, your left as you're standing up and wearing the jacket, you know, your left lower abdominal area is where the connectors are. They're inside this zippered area here. And again, there's no molded plastic thing where they're all together. So what are we looking at here? This is the main one. This one that doesn't have any label on it with the white heat shrink on it. This is the main power feed that you're going to put your heat controller into. So this is going to be the temp settings and everything. This is going to control the heat in the jacket. If you didn't do anything else, you would just connect power to your heat controller, the output of the heat controller to this connector, and then that would warm your jacket. The next item here is this item, and this is just going to a Y harness that goes down your left arm and your right arm to the cuff, where there's another one of these on the end that you can plug your gloves into. So what is that like? I've got one here that's closed up, and you can see the gusset sealed. You can open this up to get a little more air in, or if you want to put your glove on first and then put your hand through, you can, to have the cuff fit over your glove and then cinch it down, or cinch it down first and then run your gauntlet over top of it. So let's look at the other arm where I already have it opened up. Little zippered compartment there, wire comes out, runs down the outside to your glove. Might be a little bit difficult to make out. Everything's dark here. This is a dark jacket. That's not a safety issue. We'll get to that in a minute. So your glove then would plug into this. So your glove and your jacket could be at the same temperature if you daisy chain that to this accessory connector, this yellow one. This is where it gets a little bit confusing. So this is a power output that is set at the same heat level as what you have set for the jacket. So you've got power going into from your heat controller to the jacket, this white connector here, and you've got it set to low. Then that means the output of this connector is also low. You can run this out the back, the bottom, which is, I've got this upside down, but the waistband down to a pair of pants, or you can just simply take the glove connector, put it into here, like so. So it's now daisy changed off the glove. So now your jacket and your gloves are both run off a single heat controller. There's a lot to unpack here, so rewind the video if you get confused. But this is another way you can go to save money. The difference between a single channel heat controller and a dual channel heat controller are not that far apart. And I think it's going to be a unique individual and a unique riding circumstance where everything can be run on the same circuit and you get all the comfort you need, just the way it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a separate channel on my heat controller. I've got a dual heat controller. So I have one going in for the jacket. I'll have another going in for a pair of the gloves. And then this will run down to my heated insoles. Because I don't think they're going to need a lot of power to keep me warm. And I also don't think the jacket and gloves are going to draw all that much. So I should be able to run the insoles off that as well. The only problem is if any one of those things gets too hot, you have to turn it all off to cool it down. And if any one of those things gets too cool, you have to warm it all up in order to get warmer. So that'll be something you discover over time, how your system works as to, you know, how you want to wire it. There's not a whole lot more guidance in that. Again, I keep saying in these videos, there's a bit of homework for you to do. There's really not a one size fits all for the person or the situation. So this is what I chose for my gear. And when we're done, I'm going to hook everything up together. And we did the ammeter test on the footwear. We'll do the ammeter test on the whole combined system. So Try not to beat it to death, but your main heat controller, and you don't run any of this stuff without a heat controller. They claim you can direct connect it for a little bit and then just unplug it or put an inline switch on there. Not recommended whatsoever. You're just going to draw everything, all the current that it can draw, it's going to draw off your charging system in your battery, and you're just going to get too hot. There's no way about it. If it's any kind of good gear at all, you're going to get too hot. So your heat controller or heat troller is going to connect to this white wire, and then your jacket is powered, and you can do low, medium, high, and handle the jacket power and jacket temperature, sorry. Then it's a matter of whether you have a separate, heat controller or a dual heat controller where you plug this in to feed the gloves. If you don't have that and all you have is the single controller, again, you can daisy chain off the accessory port and run that same temperature setting to the gloves by hooking the white and the glove wire, the yellow accessory wire and the glove wire together. If you have a dual channel controller and you're running your gloves and your jacket off that dual controller, then this accessory setting can be used to power something else, like the heated footwear, the insoles or the socks or pants. If you use this and you power the pants and your pants have the thing on the cuff at the bottom of the pants so they can hook to the insoles, realize that this is a lot of draw. You're basically running everything through one circuit. So keep in mind the fuse rating that's in line for your power supply and the fuse holder, be it in this style or the fuse that I think you have to take it apart to get to this one that's inside here. It might be the more traditional barrel style, the round one inside there. But that's something that you need to think about before you chain all that stuff together and have all that draw. And that'll be there the second you turn it on all at once. So think about the level of control you want for your charging system too. The less your overall capacity, the more conscientious you have to be about it. I'll give you a specific example. I have a 2016 Harley Electroglide Ultra Classic. It has a total accessory capacity of 15 amps. So I have a Sena Technologies Bluetooth adapter so that I can integrate non-Harley branded Bluetooth things into my phone. It doesn't draw a whole lot, but it's there. I have aftermarket lighting that I will sometimes turn on, but it sits there and draws a little power. I got a Vance & Hines fuel pack plugged into the OBD port that draws a tiny bit of power. So all these are little things that add up over time that you have to think about that are running while you're driving. Are you running your auxiliary driving lights or fog lights or running lights, whatever you want to call them? Are you on high beam all the time, or do you just use your low beam? Do you run your stereo at full blast, or do you have it notched down a little bit? Are you charging your phone while you're riding? All these things add up and have to be taken into consideration. So again, I think we have beat that horse to death. So let's take another look at the jacket. We talked about the integrated armor. Here in the back, same thing. You have this zippered area where you can get in and either use it for, this one is venting to let some heat out. So if it's one of those odd times a year where it's really warm during the day and it's cooler in the evening or later day or early morning, you can use this to wear this jacket without feeling overheated. And there's a couple of vented areas like that on the jacket. You're also going to find throughout the jacket, I talked about the dark color a moment ago, you're also going to find this reflective piping all throughout the jacket. You'll see some of the reflective piping on the arms. There's a line that runs down here, and it doesn't reflect right now with incandescent and fluorescent and LED light, but at nighttime this will light up and people will be able to see you. So I like the high visibility. I like the CE armor. Getting a little older, don't heal quite as quickly as I do when I'm young. Not planning on going down, but you're never planning on the idiot that cuts you off, you know, putting you into a barrier wall or something either. You know, stuff just happens, and you know, you better be well equipped when the time comes. It's too late to get it out of your saddlebags or out of your closet at home when something happens. So, you know, better to be suited up. I think I've talked about it before. You know, you're talking about the difference between even a broken bone. Highly inconvenient. You're going to take, you know, 6 months or more to heal a severe break. But if you add to that the abrasion that you get when you go down, and the chance for infection and everything, and all the things you can't do while you're wearing all the bandages and everything, it just makes real quick sense to wear the appropriate gear all the time. This is a personal decision. I won't get into the helmet discussion or everything. Just for my viewers out there, no, I wear a helmet every time. If it's, you know, if it's 99 degrees out and 75% humidity, I'm still wearing my helmet. And more often than not, it's a full face helmet. It might be modular. I might flip it up from time to time, but generally I'm wearing a full face helmet. And to me, I feel naked without it. I'm the same way when I'm in a car. If I'm in a car, I'm wearing my seatbelt, and I just don't feel right without it. And I don't see the benefit of going without it. To each their own, but you get a sense of the kind of rider that I am as far as gear is concerned, protective gear. So this jacket has the elements that we were talking about in the other video that I like to look for when shopping for a jacket. So one of those we already covered, and that's the power connections. So we know that we can get power to gloves, we can get power to pants, we can power the jacket itself. There's room in here in this little zippered compartment where we could even put in one of the batteries, the external batteries. I was just looking for it quickly here, but it's elsewhere, and power it while we're off the bike. That assumes that your heat controller is going with you. The armor is inside here. Here's a piece for the back. This is obviously more foam-like on the one side and a little more rigid on the back. It's not going to save you from everything. It's just a little preventive measure that wouldn't otherwise be there. The whole jacket, those things are removable. The whole jacket is washable. This is something else to look for. Can you immerse the thing? Can you submerge the thing and clean it? Some of the battery operated gear, or even some of the gear that plugs into, you know, your battery directly, 12 volt, or the power port adapter, or cigarette lighter adapter, some of those have the heat controller built into it. There's a little button on there that you push, and you vary the temperature, turn it off that way. You have to read carefully. How do I clean this thing? Again, we're talking about having it 5, 10, 15 years. It's got to get washed at some point. How does it happen? Do you have to send it to dry cleaner? Can you do anything with it at all? So this, you would remove the armor at your discretion. Theoretically, you could leave it in there. The wiring and everything stays put, and you just go ahead and wash it like you would any delicate garment you have. So hand wash, air dry, drip dry, air dry. Don't put it in the dryer, and don't put it in a washing machine. And that should be enough to refresh it. You know, if you think about what you do with your helmet, you know, some guys just occasionally, you know, at the beginning and end of the season, spray some Febreze in there. You know, it gets a little skanky after a while. At some point, you're going to want to remove the liner in there and hand wash that stuff. Your heated gear is not too much different than that, although it's probably not as fragile as those components. So where is the heat in this jacket? The heat in this jacket is in the arms, it's in the back, it's in the chest, and it's also got a wire right around here in the neck area, so that when you're riding and this is up on your neck, it's actually putting some heat up, and that's some heat that could potentially rise up into the back of your helmet, you know, a little bit, depending on how much air is scavenged from around you. That becomes important the longer you're out. Anywhere that you don't have direct heat applied while you're out for hours and hours on end in the cold is an area, potential area where you're going to get cold, and if the skin's truly exposed, you're going to get frostbite. So we talked about between the collar of the jacket and the bottom of your helmet, you wear some kind of cloth cover of some kind, or a balaclava, which is basically like a sock that you pull completely over your head, may even go down over your shoulders. Got kind of an oval cutout here for your face and your mouth and everything else is covered. Just something to keep that wind from directly whipping against your skin. I find those to be a bit of a personal preference. Sometimes you go to move, and if your helmet's tight, your face can move inside there a little bit, and you can obstruct your peripheral vision. So check that stuff out real carefully. That's going to vary from person to person, helmet to helmet, rider to rider. So I don't think there's a whole lot else to say about the jacket other than, you know, it's obviously made with quality. There is a warranty on it. Gerbing has been around quite a while, and if you want to see the limited warranty, you can stop the video and read that a little closer. Hopefully it's in focus. It's sold by a bunch of different resellers. So even though Gerbing stands behind their product and everything, you probably want to, you know, buy from a place that you can get some answers to. We talked about power draw. I do believe I ran into a online chart from Revzilla, which says what the charging capacity and the load capacity of your bike on. So that, if that's still up on their website, that's a great service provided by those guys. And again, you know, with any gear you buy, you know, I'm not telling you run to the most expensive place and pay, but before you dismiss buying from your dealership, excuse me, or buying from you know, a retailer, and I'll just throw the warming store out there because they're one of the big names, where you can find it online from Joe's Closeout Hut for, you know, $10 or $15 cheaper, and there's just, you know, there's no recourse if anything happens. Just think about what could happen, and, you know, you're probably going to find this stuff cheaper, you know, in the springtime or in the summers. They come out with new models, or somebody's getting out of the business, and they have it on closeout. You're not going to know until you get it whether it's new or whether it's refurbished or recertified, and you're not going to know whether it works or not probably until the fall. You know, if you're like me, I'm a little OCD. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to test it. I don't care how hot it is. I want to make sure it's going right. So we'll talk real quick about the fit, and I apologize that I might be a little out of frame here. Let me back up a little bit. So like I said, I'm a 2XL to an XL depending on what I'm wearing. The jacket slips on easily. It's obviously a little big. You have zipper in the front. We're probably going to lose some audio as I clobber this with the zipper and everything. But so there's a standard high quality zipper down here. It's a two-way, so you can zip up from the bottom and open up the bottom so you can get to the pants for a variety of reasons, either connecting power to the pants or it's time for a bathroom break. The overlap area here is, on some jackets, is yet another zipper. With the Gerbing garment, it's actually magnetic. So there's some like rare earth magnets or something in here. You fold it over, and that's holding this just roughly on top of this other fold. And this other fold is really what's doing all the work, right? This is what's keeping the air out of the zipper compartment. And then this one is just keeping that one in place. Hopefully that makes sense. So here's your cuff connection, right? Coming out of here, not too obtrusive. It's going to go to your glove. Not a big problem. Plenty of cuff length, so when you're positioned, that the sleeve isn't riding back. And this is two of the things that you have to worry about when you look at the sizing. And I think I spoke before at length about the sizing varying from manufacturer to manufacturer. So look on there, and they'll tell you how things fit. Hey, our large fits a little snug because we want it closer to your body. So, you know, you might want an extra large if you're borderline between large and extra large in regular clothes. Things like that. Pay close attention to their sizing charts for the model that you're going to buy. Some of it's universal for everything they sell, and some of it's model to model. So we just talked about cuff length, right? You want it a little tiny bit long so that when you stretch out, it's not up to here on your arm. Same can be said about the distance coming down the front. You don't want it too far that you have all this extra material bunched up in front of your belly, but you don't want it so short that if you're a cruiser rider and you sit more upright, that the thing's rising up and exposing your waistline. If you're a sport bike rider, you have the opposite problem. You're leaning forward, your belly and your waistline is more covered, but then you have to worry about the height in the back, right? Is it going to cover your tailbone? And if you look, they've got a little tapered area coming down off the waistline. So here's the you know, this flat continuous area of the waistline, and then you get just past the hips and it starts to angle down. That's what that's for. If you were on a people think it's a derogatory term, but everybody knows what segment of motorcycle I'm talking about when I say crotch rocket. So if you have that, you know, forward leaning riding position, the jacket's going to want to come up a little bit, right? So that extra material in the back is going to cover your tailbone. Let me open this up so we can get some better audio here. Sorry. And then conversely, when you sit down either way and you lean forward a little bit, you don't want the thing billowing up on your shoulders, right? You don't want to look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. The other thing is, if any garment, and you see this most when people buy inexpensive rain gear. Sorry, a lot of microphone repositioning here in this video. So you see this when people buy inexpensive rain gear, the billowing, the guy that looks like he's a windsock, you know, going down the road. You want to see that they've somehow got a way for you to close the cuff up to keep extra air from coming in. So you can either, you know, in this case, they use a zipper to close it up. They're expecting you to wear a glove over it. My guess is most people are going to have a glove with some kind of large cuff on it. We generally refer to that as a gauntlet. That's a particular style of glove, but a lot of different gloves, even the racing gloves, some of them for the cold weather use have a larger cuff that goes over top of this cuff, so the air goes over top of all this instead of being tucked inside. And that's, you know, allowing, depending on how you're moving your hand, you can see these gaps open up. That's going to let air in. All right. Same thing true around the neck area. You should be able to close that up fairly tight, but not so tight that a little bit of heat and moisture can't escape. Remember, it's got to breathe. I think I showed the Thinsulate placard here a little bit ago, and one of the things they're talking about is breathability. And again, foul weather, this will be moisture resistant. You know, it's not a rain gear, you know, it's not a rain suit, but you know, it'll generally keep most of the rain out. In the summer riding months, I don't really worry about it too much. If I get wet, I get wet. You know, I'll dry out eventually, or I'll dry out when I get where I'm going. When you're out in the cold weather and you've got 6 more hours to go, you can't keep riding with wet gear on. So you need to make sure that you've got a barrier between water infiltration and yourself. And it's going to reduce the effectiveness of the heating as well. So that is an overview of the jacket. I hope it answered all your questions. I hope we covered things in a little more detail than you might have found on other sites that left you with some additional questions. If you can think of anything we didn't cover here, please drop a note in the comments. Again, like the video if you would please, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of it. Ride safe. Namaste.